I put it in a Polaroid style frame.
Nice.
But I did a lot of layering and played around like also how I was, but like digitally, with the same creation that I made physical with my physical painting and all the influence pieces that I used in Mi Entorno, like the current project that I'm working on.
Mhm.
So I did a lot of layering in because I felt like this best encapsulated the dream style that I was looking for, to have different layers and like in my dreams, because my brain kind of like sees it as a scenario and then things kind of overlap, or like they transition from one place to another without any real, I don't know, understanding of the situation. So, as I mentioned last week, sometimes I will be in one place and I turn around, look out the window, and it's a different place outside. Even though the space that I'm in is familiar, the space outside might be unfamiliar or another familiar space. So I'm playing around a little bit with that, and the layering of different objects, which is part of my project Mi Entorno. And so I'm just like layering things. And I wanted to continue to incorporate the hands as part of it, because to me it adds like a more physical, tactile thing instead of a bunch of random placed objects. So I went through and I played with textures, a lot of the found objects that I have, and the opacity of everything. But most of them include the original painting that I made throughout, or stages throughout the process of creation. And sometimes things are not so certain in my dreams. So I wanted to show that movement and the flux between what feels real and what doesn't quite feel real. Um, and how sometimes things seem a little bit off in your dreams, like not exactly correct. And as we mentioned, like sometimes a little unsettling. So there are a lot of layers here with found objects, photos that I have taken of the places, and then drawn on top of that with different mediums. But like most of it's digital. And these are like through the stages of the painting process of the final painting that I did before.
So you took a photo of your painting and then you used it as basis, or?
Yeah, so I just like I took video and photos of my work through all the stages of the process of creating it. So from the very beginning of just layering the canvas, and I used a lot of different materials to create the painting itself. So you can see that in like some of the textures and things on there, like and then I hid other found objects that I used, that I collected. In this like dream journey that I had. It's a physical journey that I actually took, but it felt surreal because I was like back in this place that was like a dream to me. So I'm playing with the idea of reality and dream and the layers between it, and how sometimes even you see something and it seems like it blends, like there's a disconnect between the reality and this false excuse me, this false other layer, which is the dream state. So I'm like playing with the idea that it's like different realms, but in instant photography style. And so layering different landscapes and textures, lines and objects and things that I've found. Again, playing with drawing on it as well. If you guys have any questions, please feel free to
Oh,
ask.
yeah. It's amazing. I love it. Because it looks at us like we don't know what we see. Like it's really
Yeah.
unique because at the same time it looks as like Polaroid, but it also looks like a screen. It's kind of like dragging you into the picture, but it's also like at the same time as a collage and a drawing and a photo. Like it includes all the elements. So it's kind of like playing with your mind similar way as a dream does. So like I think you really did it so successfully and it's so inspiring. I love it. it's
Oh,
kind of
thanks.
opening new ways, like how you can explore like different materials and how you can combine them. I really like it.
I think you caught the logic of dreams
Yeah,
perfectly, because we can make a wager here that actually this is the dream that we are looking at.
yeah,
And then when we are dreaming, we are making the narrative, but the image is overlay, like everything is on the surface and just patched onto one another. Every layer is on the surface, on the same layer. It's like weird thing with dreams. And only when we start speaking about them or experiencing them, we transform them into the true language, into the experience of a narrative, which is weird because it's a dream. Nevertheless, I think this is more looking like a dream. If the dream could be presented factually, this would be something more of a
yeah,
dream than a dream. You telling me a dream, because when telling me a
yeah,
dream, it's just a story, another story,
yeah, yeah.
something like that.
It's kind of
Yeah,
like
and
your
yeah,
world.
go ahead.
Yeah, yeah, sorry. Go ahead.
No, exactly. And with that, you're like, when we're talking about this, where you're creating the narrative, it's that's exactly what I was trying to do here, in that like I'm blending textures like landscapes and things that I found. So in this one, for example, you can see like the mountains that were in the background, but now they're in the forefront, and they cut off, but they blend with the texture. And then how, like we said, like you see something in one place, and then you turn around and you're in a different place, but it doesn't seem to connect somehow. And so it's like there's that disconnect. So some of the lines show the boundary between those spaces, like in our minds that we create, or in this narrative that our minds are creating, and which happens to me a lot. This like there's a divide there, but it somehow works and it somehow blends, but it's a little bit uneasy what we're actually like what I'm perceiving. And so I find this a little bit disturbing, like when I wake up and I think back on my dreams, I'm like, oh, that made no sense at all. But in my dream, it makes perfect sense. So I wanted to kind of show that, reflect that these places, though they're in completely opposite spaces and that I'm aware of, but maybe the viewer is unaware that these are completely different spaces. But to me, because it's a reflection of my own dreams, I'm seeing those spaces and the disconnect between them, because I know that they shouldn't be together. I know that they shouldn't be juxtaposed. And I'm playing with that concept of like what I'm actually seeing versus the in reality, the false narrative that my mind has created, and how they work together, and how things like, for example, this one in particular, the the stone at the top really reminded me of like Jupiter and like the moon and planets. So I, in one dream that I had, when I just after I took this, like the photo of the stone, uh I actually had in a dream that I plucked it out of the sky, and I was like, yeah, okay, put it in my pocket, and now I'm taking a piece of the moon with me.
Right.
So it was really very interesting for me to like experience this play between realms. And so I wanted to show that through a lot of layering. And people who have been to these places would know that they are not like side by side or next to each other, so they might see that disconnect. But the viewer, I'm trying to show it through line and texture and other ways.
I really enjoyed the pictures, the colors, like kind of an earthy color scale or something. It looks almost
Mhm.
like Iceland for me or something.
It
But
is, it's Iceland.
yeah, it is.
Yes, yeah.
Okay, right.
Good guess.
I mean, Iceland
Yes.
doesn't exist. It's a dream. People tell about it, but I don't believe them. It's like, yeah.
But it's funny because like the landscape itself, it's almost like from a dream. Like I've never been there, so like it's so,
Yeah,
yeah, it's
It's so
amazing.
interesting in dreams, the way the one scene gets to be another is through the cut. It's metonymic sliding, like it just one scene just becoming the other scene, and that's like internal to the structure of a dream. We don't see cuts, we just experience them, and they are internal to the one thing becoming the other. There is no cut, but there is by it becoming the other thing. But when you're representing it here, we can actually see cuts. Cuts are in the lines and the overlaying of the things. Like so, I'm just riffing here. It's interesting how the logic of the dream and the language within it, when presented in an image, becomes the metonymy, and those cuts become lines and becomes like divisions, but in the horizontal, vertical, oblique way. So just in my mind, it has that kind of a logic, like how one thing can be transformed into the other thing when you put it onto the surface of the image. Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I in this first
I'm
one, and I'll end on this one as well. But often in my dreams, people won't have faces. Uh, so there's always like a person or two where I either only see the side or back of them and I don't see their face. So I wanted to play a little bit with that as well.
I
But you've used the lines that you've kind of gone and put in and circled things, because it kind of puts me in mind of how, you know, sometimes in dreams where there's nothing that's told you that a certain thing is true or a certain person is there, but you just have this sort of strange sudden knowledge that it's there, and it's like this kind of feeling that just hits you. If you're like, oh, that's that person, or oh, I'm there, or oh, this is a fact now, and it kind of feels like you're drawing attention to that kind of feeling in a visual way by just like circling it and like, I don't know, yeah, that's kind
Yeah,
of
well,
me thinking of.
that's exactly why I emphasize the like heavy line around certain objects, be or like the cuts, like the lines that divide the spaces, because these are, you know, like in your dream, you have these moments where there's a focus on a certain object, but like you said, it's almost as if it's drawing your attention to it, and that's not always the case when we're looking at a flat, you know, composition. And so I
Yeah.
wanted to play with that in that same sense, that like focus on this thing that's outlined, or with the line in particular, you should notice these divisions, and it's up to the individual to understand that or not. But I'm glad that you cut on, because that was exactly my intention, was draw attention to these objects by outlining them. Yeah.
Yeah, it's something that's not necessarily visually implied to you in your head, but suddenly it's just at the forefront of your consciousness, you know, when
Mhm.
you're dreaming.
Exactly.